Hello there, girls and boys, and welcome back to Inner Sanctum, the place where I show you all my tricks while I pull them off live right in front of you. And today, since this is the beginning of the year, we're going to be tackling some of the basics of music production. And in this case, we're going to be tackling some of the basics that are required for you to mix music correctly. Allegedly. Isn't that the case, Tiago Bergamin?
Of course, that is the case indeed, and I'm glad to be back. It's good to have you. Glad. How does it go again?
Words are hard.
My own stuff.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're here with us today, and yeah, I think it's fitting that we're gonna be using the beginning of the year to tackle some of the basic stuff that you need in order to get your mixing going.
Yes, because believe it or not, mixing is harder than you think, and also, well, the
Is it
base.
really? Because it looks so easy from where I stand.
Of course, because you do so many things when we're live streaming. Of course, no, all jokes aside. No, what makes mixing difficult is that if you start off on the wrong foot, the entire thing is gonna derail badly, and you're gonna be trying to chase your tail rather than pushing the song forward. And the plan for today's journey is to show you some of those pitfalls that are easy avoided once you understand them correctly. So let's begin. Welcome back to Logic Pro 11. In front of us, we got the project that we're going to use to analyze and explain these very principles. So, what's the first thing to do? Well, in order for you to mix music, you need music, right? So, in this case, I decided to assemble a quick track just using the built-in drummer that is part of Logic Pro 11. And by the way, everything that you will see here has nothing to do with Logic Pro. It's going to be applicable to any form of digital audio orchestration. So don't think of this as a Logic Pro exclusive. Okay? So first and foremost, Logic, it's a digital audio orchestration, which is a software that you use to mix and work with music and sound. And in this case, we're dealing with a variety of different tracks. First and foremost, this section over here is known as drummer. And drummer is one of the exclusive things to Logic Pro 11, but don't worry, we're not going to be using it for mixing. I'm just going to explain what it's doing. It's actually creating a drum pattern, a drum track, if I am precise. And I am dividing the different elements of the drum recording as if I were miking up a drum kit, okay, in real life. Now, what is it? Why am I doing it like that? Because I have a bass here, right out of a pad of a loop, a brief and simple and quite obnoxious arpeggiator pattern that I'm going to use as well, also out of a loop, and this inst, which is allegedly a pad. So first things first, let's begin mixing, right? Okay. First problem. Don't you see a problem with this, Tiago?
I see many problems.
A flagrant one. Which one is the first one? Do you see?
Because from where I stand, it looks like... Oh, hello Robbie, how's it going?
Look at that.
Yeah, and it looks like this project may have been used to produce the track.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that a
now
problem?
We're gonna mix.
Yes. Is that a problem? Because even you, even you can tell that this is not a right idea, a good idea, right?
Not the best idea ever.
Why? Could you elaborate more? Because I might sound pretentious.
Okay, so I suppose you can explore even more problems than I can, but I think one of the basic problems that it offers is the use of virtual instruments,
Yes.
or other plugins being used in real time. Well, the use of the plugins, because if you print the tracks, you're not going to be using the plugins, you're going to have the sound.
Yes.
So if you're using plugins, you're going to be tasking your computer more by the use of them, and that's not something that you want or need when mixing.
Also, Robbie is pointing at another flagrant problem. Can you show them the screen?
Okay.
We are clipping on the output.
Already? We didn't even play anything.
No, but it's because I played it before going live, and of course it's clipping. I left that in purpose. First, Theo is correct. There is a huge problem.
Robbie's quite eagle-eyed.
Yeah. He is. Yes, he's actually faster than we are. Yeah, but the thing is this: there is a big problem with what Thiago said. Not what Thiago said. What Thiago said is actually pointing at the big first problem that we will have to deal with, which is mixing in the same product you produced the music in. Why is it a problem? First and foremost, as Thiago stated, we're running a virtual instrument, at least in the case of inst1, which is running an instance of the humble retro synth. And even though this is as humble as it is, and it drives little to no horsepower from my computer, the problem is that it's driving and taking some of that horsepower for itself when it should be used for mixing. Makes sense, right? So that could mean that we might find ourselves, once the mix starts to get more complex and we start to add more plugins, we're gonna get a lot of our, we could run into the risk of the computer running out of use when it should be used in running the project. Okay? So how to deal with this issue? Easy. You will have to export the tracks. How to do it in Logic? You go to File, and then you look for Export. And in Export, you're going to look for which kind? Let me explain. We're dealing right now with a multi-output instrument, which is in the case of the drum kit over here. How do we know? Look at this. We got this plus and minus sign. Those, when you create a multi-output instrument, your channel strip is going to come loaded with this guy. What is a multi-output instrument? It is basically a MIDI instrument, a virtual instrument that can be routed out to different channels in your project. In this case, we're going to be routing the kick, the toms, the snare, and the hi-hats and the overheads as independent tracks, as you would if you were recording your drums live. Make sense? How to do it? Easy. You're going to go here. Imagine you're loading your drummer, and instead of selecting a stereo, you select multi-output, and then you simply add the number of channels that the drummer in this case requires. In this case, it's up to 5, no more. And actually, Thiago uploaded yesterday a video involving electric drums, on which he explains this concept a little bit further. Didn't you? You better did.
So for any drummers out there that are actually rocking electric drum kits, check it out. It can be useful.
I don't understand what he said, but I don't think he understood either. But you know, he actually made a video involving this. So let's pretend that I already did this, and in this case, I'm going to select all of my instruments, all of my channel strips on my arrangement region, and then I'm going to select once again, File, Export, and in this case, I'm going to select 8 tracks as audio files. Bam. In here, you can see that I already have my files printed because I am already prepared. But in case you do this without having these files printed here, you will be doing exactly the same as I'm doing. But since we're dealing with a multi-output instrument, you select this guy. 1 file per channel strip. That way, you make sure that all of the channel strips that are part of your all of the tracks that are part of the sound of your drum kit will be split and printed as independent tracks. Okay? Then, in a perfect world, you would load them into a clean project, which I'm not gonna do because that would actually ruin the live stream. But look at this. I already have them hidden. Wizardry of the highest order. So I'm gonna unmute them, but of course I'm gonna mute the instruments that I created the music song, the song with, and also I'm gonna turn them off. That means that they are basically out of the equation, but they are still locked and ready. So I'm gonna just hide them again. How do you hide the stuff? On Logic, you just press letter H, and then mark up all of the different channels that you want to hide by clicking on the H, this section here, and then to hide them, press H again. That's it. Okay, good. Now let's remove the clip on our output. And allegedly, we're set to go. Let's press play from the top.
Beautiful.
Couldn't you see the next mistake that I committed there? It was a very dumb move. Super dumb.
But it was a move that you made right now?
Right now.
I didn't see it.
What I did is this, wrongly. I didn't request a rough mix. Let's pretend that I'm mixing this for someone else. A rough mix would be something that the producer assembled or the band itself assembled to give me an idea of what kind of a vision they got for the track. Why it didn't this happen? Because more people than you want to accept do it this way. That's a big problem, a very big problem. So normally you would, some people like to have the track as they load the reference track as a stereo track here, and they drop it just there, and they mute it. I call them old school guys because we don't do that here anymore. What do we do? Introducing the obvious. Which one am I introduced to? Am I able to introduce? Which plugin? Don't you see? Referencing.
What's the name of that guy? The AB.
AB adapter metric AB. Yes. Look at that. Somebody keeping it classy. Okay, where is it? You distracted me.
It's by who?
By adapter.
Adapter matrix AB.
Yeah.
That's
Here's
the guy.
adapter. Damn it. Where is it? It's Plugin Alliance. Give me a second. The things that is not is distributed by Plugin Alliance. Here is Metric AB. Super important plugin. I didn't print the master file, the reference track, but now you understand. What would you do here? Well, you drop the master file here and you use it to reference while mixing, okay? Why is it important? Because that way you can always refer to the mix, the rough mix, the idea that the producer or the band had in mind before you come up with your cute ideas. Make sense?
Makes sense.
It should, because that's very important. That's where you're going to find money, okay? So that out of the way. Now, second mistake, Thiago, because you can see that something awful happened here as well. Look
Yeah,
at this.
and Robbie was the first to spot it.
Yes, I clipped again. Why? Because I'm mixing ultra loud. Every single one of my faders is already all the way to the top. What you should do, or my recommendation is, whenever you're about to mix, you should begin like this. I'm gonna bring the mixer again so you can see it as well. Like this. Everything goes down, but going down like down. Also, this guy is not correctly named. This is my sum. Why am I creating a sum bus? Because this is how we're routing the signal out to you. Okay, you don't need the sum bus, but I do. Now, so the first problem was way too loud. Second problem, don't you find it kind of blue?
It's kind of blue.
It
It's
is
kind of blue all over the place.
Everything is blue. Very important. Why am I making such a fuss of this? This is first and foremost, I'm referring to the color, the color of my tracks, not the color of my skin.
You don't do that here.
Yeah, we don't do that here, of course not. So, no, what we do here, we do it, but I'm going to stop there because we're going to trouble. But, no, it's very important to color code every single one of your channel strips because that will help you to keep an eye on the mix from afar. For you who might be working on a laptop, might be like, I come on, man, I can read it from where I'm standing. Yeah, but I'm almost a mirror away from my screen. And that makes it kind of hard to pinpoint exactly when you're in the zone. When you're already twisting knobs and thinking on how to make the mix sound good, it's better to give your brain a little bit of an extra helping hand by having the colors already in order. So let's do it. How to do it? I'm going to do it super quickly. I'm going to select all of these channels that are part of my drums. I'm going to go to the mixer. Why? Because in Logic you can color channel strips or regions. Regions are the blue squares. If you bring up by pressing Option and C, you bring the color palette. If you engage it while working on the mixer, you're gonna be able to color the tracks. So let's do that. I usually have my drums in this kind of yellow, a little bit darker because that's way too that yellow. And I'm gonna continue. My bass is usually poopy brown. That's not poopy, that's poopy enough.
But bass is not spelled correctly.
Of course, sorry, my mistake. I will fix it. Let me a second. Then this is an arpeggiator, so I'm gonna color it a little bit greener. And a pad, I usually like my pads pink. Not that pink, that's actually kind of obnoxiously loud. Okay, now we got the colors on our channel strips, but not the regions. How to do it automatically. Bam, selecting them all. Then right click on any of the regions, and look, that it's already there, but you can do it, you can find it as well here. Allegedly,
Name and color.
Name and color. Look at that. Somebody's actually that's exactly what I meant with distance. Name and color, and you color regions by track. Yeah, beautiful. Sudden brave. Okay, good. Now, you were saying the bass is not correctly spelled. You're right. Now it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Professionals have
professional
standards.
have standards. Okay. Now let's begin. We're gonna do something known as gain stage, which is the art and science of not clipping the living stuff out of our summing bus. What we're gonna be doing? We're gonna be trying to push faders, which you would do if you don't have a surface with your mouse. Not a problem. It's exactly the same. This is just faster and fancier. But you should be able to do it as well with your mouse, just one at a time. That's the benefit of having a surface like this. You can do all of them at a time. So let's begin. I usually would hit my vocals as the reference point or the lead sound, just to make sure that I'm gonna be setting the stage. Sometimes, well, this is something important. I will recommend you to do this. This is a plugin I recommend you to get. It's the almighty and powerful Decibel. And let me show you. Let me find it first. Where's it? Decibel process. Here it is. Decibel. Super important. What is this? It's a metering plugin. There are tons and tons of this, but look at this bad boy. It's
Big.
It's bigger than a battleship. No, but you can actually adapt it. Look at this. Sorry, a little bit too much. There it is. And you can tailor the content of its character to your heart content. I'm gonna do it because it's way too big. I'm gonna go for my classic single mirror. Yes, I want the super mirror. There it is, perfect. Look, excellent. What is this? It's gonna show us the lofts, which is the loudness over time, in super simple terms, in between the quiet parts and the louder parts of my mix. It's important because streaming services, modern streaming services, have different standards. Depending on how loud you mix your song, it's gonna give the chance to the mastering engineer or to yourself, if you're gonna be the one mastering the track, to push it as loud as possible without going super loud. Because if you trespass at set threshold of lofts that will be tracked by Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, all of those things, they will apply an extra layer of compression. They will squash your mix even more. So if you send something that is overly loud, it's going to be detected by the stuff on Apple Music, and it's going to be squashed even further, ruining the dynamic range of your mix. So in order to avoid that from happening, you use a meter like this one. This is the one I like, but there are several. Adapter, the people from Adapter, they have a very badass one that I think is called Streamliner. I also have it here. It's very good as well. This one is my favorite because you can do this. Let me show you. On my phone, I have an app called, properly of course, Decibel. Look at this. It's loading, but you will see something Michael happening. Now I got the same visuals of my plugin, Decibel plugin, on my phone. If I close the plugin, I still have it on my phone. That's badass.
Very cool.
It's very cool. So that's one of these, and actually have here something that you never saw before, because I got a different camera here. I got a stand here that I always have in front of me while mixing. Okay, very important. Now, another thing. Who interested? Is it on sale for a moment? That's badass, Robbie. That's good. Decibel, you should definitely get it because this plugin is, it's one of the plugins that I use the most because it also has a standalone app that you can use. You can run outside of any host, in a digital audio workstation. And what it does, it allows you to create a meter that would analyze any form of sound that happens on your computer, but also you can drop tracks on it, and it will give you the measurements of them, loudness, lofts, everything, so you can actually learn from other mixes.
Okay, even on the early stages of mixing, then it can be a great learning
Yeah,
tool.
even before hitting the mixing rig, you can already use it to learn. It's very, very good. No, I truly swear by this plugin. It's very good. Now, here's problem number 2, or number 4, I don't know which one we are. My meter is not set correctly. I gotta calibrate it. How to do it? Easy. Over here, we have a plethora of different options. Let me make sure that you're able to see it. There you are. They are part of the factory calibration. And you got Apple Music, CD, blah 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 blah, all of these guys, and they have a different set. For example, right now we're using Apple Music as a starting point, but let's take a look at the Spotify. You can see that Spotify allows for a little bit of a louder mix. But if we go to, for example, let's check Deezer. It's 15. It's in between, and oh, look at that. It's a handsome discount, because right now it's usually 129, and right now it's 65.
That's quite a discount.
It's very good.
Half price.
Yeah, half price. Club music, for example, ultra loud.
Okay.
But this would be the meter that I would use not while mixing. This calibration. This is for mastering, because you want to output the loudest. So what would I do for in a mixing environment? Easy. Because I lost my other window, I would go for something. I'm gonna use Apple Music again as a reference point, but then I'm gonna also change a bit the calibration. I would set it here to go all the way down to minus 19, and also the peak, the peak here, the lofts integrated would be minus 19.
Why?
Why? Because it's good. It's always recommended to have loft-wise while mixing something between 25 and 19 or 20 lofts. Okay, because that will give the chance for the master engineer to push the song louder without risking ruining the dynamic range.
Okay.
It's more about that. That means that our mix is going to be low as all F. But that's why you would use the output of your converter, your interface, to compensate for the lack of punch, loudness. Okay. So let's begin. Here we go. We went a little bit technical, but I hope that made sense. But please let me know if what I said didn't make sense at all. Didn't make sense at all. Okay. Here we go. So, which would be my main sound in this case? I would say it is my arpeggiator, is my lead. So let's begin with that one. I'm gonna push it to the point on which I feel that it's already loud enough. I'm gonna keep an eye on my meters. I'm gonna make sure that you also have access to them, because it's gonna be tough for them. It went back to Apple Music. Whatever. Let me do it quickly. Minus 19. Bam. It's gonna be tough for just the arpeggiator alone to hit the minus 19. So just be mindful of that. Here we go. Okay, do you see that this sound begins to ramp up in volume? I used the loudest part of the sound to set my loudness. Make sense?
Makes sense, yes.
So I can see now that I'm almost pushing my fader all the way up to 0 dBs. I'm going to lower it. Why? Headroom. Because if I want to automate it later, if I am all the way to the top, I will have very little room for it to happen. Now let's begin with the bass now. First, I'm gonna create a loop. Wakala. There is, but I'm gonna make sure there is musical. So we're gonna be looping back and forth at the beginning, just to add the rest. But you know, one thing. Pro tip: when you do this, I recommend you to take a look at your regions, or better put, to your giving a look at the rough mix and look for the loudest point. How do you know which one is loudest? The one that looks the messier. So try to loop the loudest section rather than the quieter. Why? Because if you use the loudest, the quiet point to set the controls for the sun, you're gonna be surprised and it's gonna knock your socks off once the mix ramps up, because it's gonna be more voluminous in volume. Make sense? Let's do it. Here we go. How do I know how do I know that this is the loudest? Because it's the one that has the most instruments happening at the same time. Okay, so here we go. At this stage, I need to understand now the sound of mix. I don't know about you, Thiago, or those of you watching, but I feel that I'm not feeling the position of the drums and bass in relationship to the other side, to the other instruments. What do you think?
I agree. And I also have a question to
Go.
make, if you don't mind. Um, to allow yourself some headroom, what would be the maximum that you would allow yourself to have on the
My
peak?
faders?
No, on the peak, on the peak level of the master.
Decibel. Okay, look at that. Good question. Look at this. We already crossed it. Wrongly. Because I'm already getting close to the levels for Apple Music. Because Apple Music is expecting 16. So I like to use minus 19 because that helped me to have a visual reference. I usually hover in between 22 after I do my master push. So it happened because of this. When we began live streaming, I lowered the volume of my converter, my interface, okay? And that is fooling me to push the faders louder. Let me see if I can show you. Give me a second. I'm gonna move the camera. Let me do this. Okay, here we go. Is it correctly aiming? No, is it aiming to the other side? Now it is. Allegedly. Okay, show them the other side there, please.
Okay, so we go here.
Let me see. Okay. Allegedly, I think you can see enough. Okay. Over here, let's confirm that they're watching. Good, good. Over here, this is my converter, and this knob is what is pushing the volume. You can see that those green lights are turning on and off. Usually, I have it when I'm mixing here, but when we began, I actually dock it down and I even pushed the dim function. So I usually have this set at the middle because that's where I know that it's loud enough, the output. Okay. It's a system that I devised for myself, but it works. So let me show you the disc again. Here we go. So let's begin. Let's continue. So we're gonna redo this. I'm gonna reset my monitoring here, my reference, and let's do it again. We already know that our arpeggiator is very loud and also moves and has some form of automation. Let me check. Does the loudness actually matter regarding the sound quality that we are hearing? Is it true that a good mix doesn't need need a master to sound proper? Good question, Alex. Look, let me first question to be addressed. Yeah, actually, Thiago says that the rule of thumb regarding the question that you made about the positioning of the faders is -3, and I agree. I like the -3 thing. I will elaborate on that. Let's first address Alex's question. First question. He says, does loudness actually matters regarding the sound quality that we are hearing? First, loudness it's understood by our human brains as excitement. Okay. If you are making music that is extremely punchy and its goal is to keep people dancing, like dance music, you look for a loud sound. But loud sound doesn't necessarily speaking means loud output. Okay, it feels punchy, powerful, and of course, it's the result of pushing your mix louder. The thing is this: a master helps, and a good master doesn't fix the mix. It makes sure that the mix will translate correctly on any system. Because right now, I don't know what kind of speakers you're using or headphones you're using, but the way that I'm hearing the music here at the studio, chances are that it will be completely different from what you're hearing. Both of us could hear that it's working or not, but the sound is going to be different due to the nature of your system compared to mine, and the nature of the acoustics of your room, blah, blah, blah. The master engineer, one of his jobs is to make sure that it will translate. Translate means that it's going to sound the way it was sounding here at the mixing room, the closest possible regardless of the system you use it. It could be an old phone such as this old iPhone, and this is a mono speaker, by the way. Your mix should be compatible with it. More on that once we hit the stereo field thing. But yes, it's important. Now, does the master help? A good mix will use the master to make sure that it translates and feels the way. Okay, and a master engineer can help you as a mixing engineer to address the mistakes that you will commit while mixing the track due to fatigue. We are gonna expose ourselves to the same mix for hours upon hours upon hours upon hours, and you could be as good as Chris Lord-Alge. The issue is that even him, after a good while, gets tired and his brain starts stops paying attention to the sound, and you start to fumble. Does that make sense? I hope it does.
Yeah.
Here Robbie saying regarding Alex question. In my opinion, in my opinion is sorry, you always need to master a song after a mix. Mastering is not about loudness; it's about many different categories. Also, I'm gonna add to that because he's right. When you're mixing music, you have to be conscious of the genre and the style of music you're mixing, because when you will make the recommendation for the mastering engineer, you will have to look for someone who understands the intricacies of the genre you're working with, because the guy who does the master for, I don't know, Madonna, even though he's great, it might not be the best fit for something like Metallica, for example, due to the nature of the music. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Let's continue. So loudness is important. Don't overdo it. That's why you got a volume controller on your interface or converter, so use it. Because the whole point is to mix the song quietly and correctly. Why? Let's say that I am using the rack over here, okay? If I am pushing my mix way too loud, I'm gonna be blasting the compressors, the EQs, and everything that I got here on the rack, and they will behave incorrectly. That's why you have to set correctly the gain and how loud you're pushing, because it's not that they're going to be incorrectly receiving the signal, because everything's calibrated at minus 18 dB. The one that dB I always forget this, but is 18 minus 18. Okay, because my converter is outputting at minus 18. I don't want to go that route because it becomes super insanely deep and complex. But just rule of thumb: don't push your mix too loud. It gotta be loud enough, okay? Because that way we avoid clipping. Listen to it. Now I understood that, I'm gonna try to make sure that I'm not blasting my mix and crossing the threshold of 19. Here we go. We already established the arpeggiator to be the loudest. And remember when I told you that when we pushed the arpeggiator by its own, we were close to 19, very close. What happened when I added the rest of the instruments? We crossed it.
By a good bit.
Yeah, why? More audio is coming out, summing together, creating a louder signal. Let's continue. So I already dug down, and Robbie suggested the -3 rule. Right now, since this guy goes very loud, let me check how loud I have it right now. -8.9. So let's see. Here we go. Bringing back the decibel. Okay, we are within a range, but I feel that I'm a little bit too loud. Why? Because my headroom for an automation passed to the master bus, it's basically none. Way too loud. So easy. Let's talk down everything. Again, we're gonna use our arpeggiator, because the one that I didn't move, I'm gonna dock it a little bit more. I'm gonna reset again. Bam. And let's do it again. Okay, way better. We are hitting -19, allowing us to push it a little bit louder once we hit the final stage. And also, you can take a look at my faders over here in my mixer. Let me make sure that I'm on it. Look at that. Tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of headroom for each of my instruments, which will allow me for, let's say, let me showcase the bass a little bit more in this section. I can do it and then knock it down. but that's important. Let me just take a look. Alex saying, yeah, makes sense. I should have rephrased my question a little differently, as I was referring more to the loudest part. Okay, yeah, no, yeah, yeah, loudness. It's good, but it's exciting. And the thing is that, for example, right now, even though I'm pushing my converters super loud here, they are not. We're not blasting the speakers here. We're just at this level. This is the volume that we're actually listening to the music. Aren't we, Diego?
Yep, yeah, and I suppose also going a little bit now talking about the monitoring side of things, not even the numbers. I suppose when you go too loud and you mix it on very loud volume all the time, the whole thing about getting tired of the sound happens even more quickly. So it can be problematic on that way.
It has happened to you, right? When you are addressing voice over and video stuff, right?
Yeah, even on that stuff that's not as critical as this, you already feel it. And I imagined on something like this will be even worse.
Oof, yes. So in this point, on my mix, I would dock down a little bit the output of my converter, just a few notches. How many? Well, 2 or 3, because I know my converters, okay? But I recommend you to get familiar to how loud you can push your converters so you can get the sound that makes the most out of your speakers. Get me?
I have a question regarding this. Because I suppose, especially when you're beginning, you feel the need that in order to pinpoint the details in the sound, to have it louder. Because you maybe, let's say you're doing something a little bit more subtle, like a compression or something, you wouldn't be able to hear it correctly because maybe you're not trained enough on that yet, and you feel the need to push it louder. What would you say about this?
That's the moment on which you have to realize that you need to take a break. I'm not joking, for real. I usually have a Pomodoro timer. Are you familiar with that concept?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's bursts of how much?
25 minutes continuous work and 5 minutes resting. I even have it programmed here in my computer on my Mac. Every time that I began doing a mix run, I start off the Pomodoro. So it begins going backwards in time, 25 minutes, and it reminds me when to stop. Sometimes I drag it for a little bit more than 25. Sometimes I work for 30 to 35 minutes straight, depending on how I feel, okay? And usually take 10 minutes rather than 5 to avoid ear fatigue. So when you start to feel the need to push more and more, is the point on which you know that you should rest for a few minutes just to refresh your hearing. One thing that I do, I have YouTube open. Why? Because I would go straight to listen to something else that is not music, because that will clear up my brain from music once I press play again. And Thiago has seen it. It does help, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does need.
Because you start to develop not only fatigue, but also what I like to call the tunnel vision mode. Because when you start to focus too much on a particular part of your mix, let's say the bass, you start to ignore the rest. And then you do the solo thing, which works. Sorry, but it's not recommended to do it for long periods because you create an even bigger tunnel vision. So what happens is that even though you remove the solo, the only thing you hear still is the bass, because your brain is now set on looking for the sound of the bass. So yeah.
In this thing with rest in the ears, I just saw a small interjection once again. It's crazy how it can change your perspective. Again, even from someone that's not actively doing the mixing work, you can have a reference point of how the mix is at one point in time. And then you give yourself like 15 minutes of rest and then you come back to it. And your impression of the mix can be completely different.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe something that felt really right, now, okay, this is way too freaking loud or something like that.
And look, it's actually quite similar to what Robbie's saying, because he's saying here that he has at his studio a dB meter, and he usually have it set to 88 decibels, the perceived loudness there. And he only listens to music at that level for 10 minutes at a time, no more. And then I find that when you reduce the music volume, you hear other things that being loud, can miss. That happens. And you might be saying, so why don't you do that right now? Because I'm right now gaining my time by talking to you. You see the trick, right?
Yeah.
I'm using these periods of speaking to refresh my hearing. Now what I did, let's hit the mix again. So loudness. We already understood that principle, and we got already a loud enough signal. I'm gonna press play again, and I recommend you now to dock a little bit the volume of your what's the name of your monitors, just to see what Rob is suggesting, because it will make the whole thing different. You will see there are details that were there, because I'm going to change the volume here. So please do. I'm going to pretend you did. Let's do it. What could you hear right now, Theo? Now that we docked the volume.
Sorry, what was the question?
What could you hear different now?
I found the drums should be a little bit too loud, the kick specifically.
Yeah, the kick is a little bit too loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, Robbie says that the output is very good on his end. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Good. Now, you said that the kick's a little bit too loud.
Mm-hmm.
I would not necessarily disagree with you, but I feel that there is a lot of low end masquerading my bass.
Mm.
That could be the reason why we feel that it is a little bit how can I put it, not as loud. There is a little bit of a mismatch.
Mm-hmm.
Let me check it. Alex is saying that for me, ear fatigue feels less. It feels like the whole dynamic range is flattened, but I'm not having great monitors either. Currently, I use Presonus Series Aries E6, which are quite harsh and high. Yeah, actually have those downstairs. Yeah, those are not. Those are kind of harsh. I agree with you. We use them for editing a voiceover, no more than that, because it's the ones that we have on the workstation downstairs that we only use for video. And Theo, can you agree on that one?
I can definitely agree on that one.
Yeah, they're kind of harsh. I get you.
Yeah, especially when I come up here.
No, man, the difference is night and day. But look, in that regard, something, and this is something that I did for a good while, believe it or not. I didn't have access to the room for almost 6 years. No, not 6 years, like 5 years. Because I was traveling around the world. But in order to keep up with this thing, I had to mix on headphones in very different rooms. And of course, the headphone isolates the room. So Robbie the other day asked me if I don't mix in headphones, or why don't you never see me using headphones during the live streams. Why, Thiago? Do you know why?
Why not?
Can
on
you
the
show them?
license?
Yeah, why? Can you show them why? Headphones, where could they look at that, somebody's using them right now. Yeah, the things that we use the headphones right now for making sure that the live stream is going good on your end. But allegedly. No, but if I can give you a piece of advice on what kind of gear to get a good pair of headphones and a good master converter. First, what is a converter? It's not an interface, okay? The interface is something that does both, in and out. A converter would be one that does only one or the other. Of course, we're gonna take us to a much more expensive route. That is the one that will give you the money. The one that I recommend, that is not terribly expensive, mind you, is Dangerous Music Source, I think is the name. And that guy should be around $700. I know it's a lot of money. I get you. But if you're thinking of taking this route professionally, that's the route to take. I recommend you that. And also, I would recommend you to get a good pair of headphones. There are some that Odyssey has some, not the Mari Manokin ultra high end, because there are two different lines. There is the MM100 and MM500. The 500 are $1,700, so it's insanely expensive. That's a lot of money. But the 100 is 388. So it's much more better, right? And it's also much more affordable and much more trustworthy than any speaker you can get at that price point. But those are my 2 cents. If you get a good converter or a good interface with a good converter on the way out, Apogee has very good ones. You don't have to go the route of ultra high end. You can get a proper Apogee interface for kind of similar price, but with the added benefit of it being able to record as well. The Apollo series by Universal Audio is very good as well. Antelope Audio, which is the brand that we use here, has also very good, more affordable options. Again, we're still talking about the not cheap, but it's not stupidly expensive. It's not Elon Musk level, okay? Money. But I totally recommend you, because the most important aspect of mixing is having a proper and trustworthy monitoring setup. Okay? Okay, now Robbie's asking Alex what DAW is he using, and also won't change my Olo They are superb. Although, can you elaborate more, Robbie? Because I'm not familiar with that name. While he comes back to us, let's begin. I was mentioning the issue that I felt with my arpeggiator. So what would it? No, sorry, with my pad and my bass. Freudian slip. I mentioned the bass, but I'm projecting already what I'm gonna do. There's a problem with the EQ because pay attention to the low end, please.
Yeah.
What happened?
There's a
When I removed the pad, what happened?
yeah, the cloud lifted and the
The mix
sky was blue.
Yeah, yeah. The mix sounds correct, right?
Yeah.
The balance between instruments is great. Not perfect, but it's way better.
Yeah.
Why? The pad is occupying so much space in the mix, frequency-wise, that it's cluttering everything. So let's do this. Before we start to push knobs around and apply EQ and stuff, let's do it with faders. Let's use volume. I'm gonna press play again. And we're gonna try to find the sweet spot for the pad. Here we go. Okay. Something happened. Two things happened. First, when I removed the pad, we got a much better sounding mix. Then I began docking the pad out, just down, sorry, and adding, and I decided to find a very sweet spot for the pad. We got somewhere. The thing is that it feels a little bit not loud enough. Mm-hmm. Then I muted the ARP, and the same happened. Why do you think that happened, Theo? Let me check this comment.
So I suppose because there are certain frequencies both on the pad and the ARP that are actually fighting within the mix, and they are kind of getting in the way of each other.
Yeah, exactly. So what we got here is failure. No, finally, I can use it.
To put it very bluntly.
Yeah, no. What we got here is not necessarily the most crafted arrangement ever, because I did it just dropping loops on top of each other. But we also got a clash of frequencies, or if I better put it, we are getting frequencies that are taking place, the same range of frequencies on both the instruments at the same time, occupying or fighting for the same space. This is one of those moments in which EQ is going to be the solution. So before we move over that, let me check his comment. Alex is saying that he's using right now Ableton and SPL Crimson 2 as an audio interface. That's actually a good interface, man. And he's using Bayer Dynamics 990 Pro 250 ohms. I have never tried those, but he says that he finds them a little bit harsh on the highs. But you really enjoy the sound of the interface. Yeah, no, the interface is great. And I have never tried those. I know them, but I have never owned them. He also says that he had a Steinberg U22 before, but it didn't have enough power. Yeah, because those Bayer Dynamic are power hungry. I don't know where we see something like that gesture regarding headphones. Yeah, so okay, so Alex, you got a very good referencing point. You can actually trust it. If you develop the hearing to the sound of your interface and your headphones, you can trust them after a good while. One of the things that I do every time that I test a new pair of cans or speakers and converters, I usually use the same tracks. Tiago knows which albums, so Tiago, please do.
So I suppose in order.
Yeah.
We first. Is it AJ first?
See, I usually go first for no.
Eye in the Sky first. Yeah, that's true. Eye in the Sky, followed by AJ, I suppose.
Yes, and ABC.
And ABC later on.
Yes, exactly. AJ by Steely Dan, Eye in the Sky by Alan Parsons projects, and ABC is The Lesson of Love.
All sound amazing.
Incredible sounding albums, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
always.
good, so good. So
Do you have a favorite? Just now a little bit on a tangent, but
yeah,
do you have a favorite?
when it comes to which album I like the most, musical speaking,
Yeah, out of those three.
Eye in the Sky, obviously. Prog
real?
rock, yeah, I gotta be snuff. Yeah, but the three albums are extremely well crafted. Musical speaking are fantastic, but they are the albums that I consider to be some of the best sounding records ever made by a human being. It's incredible to consider that that was made by a carbon-based creature. For real, it sounds so good. The three of them are incredible, and they have completely different flavors.
Yeah, actually.
They have, for example, Eye in the Sky is smooth and controlled and layered and deep, while Steely Dance is punchy, jet groovy, and freaking ABC. Damn, that's the true definition of hi-fi, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like wow.
and fun.
And fun.
It's actually fun sound. Actually.
Yeah, so you can see that the three of them have completely different takes, and I recommend you, if you want to use those as reference, please do. You're gonna enjoy the music; it's fantastic. But also, if you don't like that kind of music, well, there's something wrong with you. But also, I recommend you to develop yours.
And the album you've been talking ABC, but it's the
Lexicon of Love. Yeah, the first one. There are two. The first one, the old one. Okay, Robbie saying he came back. All headphones, beautifully made with flat sound, which I prefer. Nothing. That's excellent. I will look at them because I am in the look for a new pair of cans, and I've been looking at the Odyssey for a good while now. And since the ones that I like is the 500s. Yeah. So if I can avoid it, I will do it. Okay. So yeah, good. And I will recommend you. One more thing, very important. This is something that another mistake that I didn't mention at the beginning. Super important. Once you get your reference track, you listen to it. You spend a good chunk of time talking to the producer and the musicians, or the musicians, because sometimes now in this economy they don't hire a producer. Usually it's the bass player or the drummer. So you talk to them and you find the sound that they got in their heads, or how they imagine the final sound of the mix to be like, and you ask for references, records. So once you find those records, listen to them while setting up, loading the files, because you're gonna tune your hearing to the sound that you would be aiming for. You're not gonna be doing the headless chicken thing, because your ears will be tuned. So once you're ready, you're gonna press play, and everything you do for the next 15 minutes is gonna be based on what you heard. And that actually happens. And what I do, I have the same goddamn song running in loop, because my converter allows me to change between what I'm hearing right now on Logic and wherever it's being played by the computer by its own, using the same converters with the click of a button. It's badass. If you are wondering which one I'm rocking, this is the D-Box by Dangerous Music. Huge fan of Dangerous Music. Badass. But again, it's a little bit on the more that side. Okay. Alex is saying, found the interface for 120 euros on Riverbacker. Okay. Got really lucky. Yeah, because usually they're way more expensive than that. And I'm thinking to upgrade my speakers to Barefoot. Good. Barefoot Footprint 03. And later, some DI acoustic treatment. Do you know Footprints? The Footprints, yes, I like them a lot. Barefoot are great speakers. I would recommend you, man, look for, so you can set up your room. They're right now darkened by the of course, the lack of lighting. But the black panels you see on the backdrop, those are made, I made them myself. Well, actually, we made them here because the room wasn't ready for mixing. We have to readapt it. These are made with rock wool. And there are plenty. I put some of them on the ceiling as well, and there are some bass traps on the corners. You might be able to see. Can show them? Whatever.
Not really, but that's here.
Well, there is one behind
believe
him.
Me, bro.
Yeah, believe him. Because that helps. So I recommend you to make them yourself. They are way cheaper than you might. Look for rock wool, and you just simply have to create a wooden frame. Put the rock wool on it, because it actually comes in those slabs. It's 60 centimeters by 120, and those are standard everywhere in the world. So get them. You can find them at hardware stores such as Home Depot if you are American. But what was Woody's is the name of the European version, right? Woody's,
yeah,
right?
I think so. Yes.
Woody's, at least in Ireland. That one, or you can find it in construction oriented stores or suppliers. Yes, I think the footprints are great. I totally think that Barefoot are great speakers. Of course, I haven't tried them. I haven't tried your interface. I know by numbers that interface has very good converters. So the more important part will be your room. So spend the most time and money on your room after you get your speakers, for real. If you don't want to go that route, you can get an even better pair of cans. But that's up to you. Now, coming back to this. So we were having this discussion that we were fighting for space. Let's address it. I'm gonna keep it humble, just using nothing fancy, nothing special, because this is just a showcase of stuff. So in a world on which I'm mixing completely using Logic stock plugins, which that doesn't exist, and I love mixing in Logic. I love mixing in Logic. Logic is badass. But this is a very limited equalizer because this is the one that it comes loaded with. I'm going to turn it on. So let's first apply some arpeggiator low cut. Here we go. Sorry, I meant the pad. Way better, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of a bump on the bass. Now, we did that. I'm going to do it now on the arpeggiator. And pro tip in Logic, because this breaks my balls every time that I'm working with this. If you don't want to have an incredible amount of windows open in front of you, click on this bad boy and close the living stuff out of the previous one, and look what happens. If I insert another EQ on the bass, look, that is the one for the bass. Badass. So that makes sure that you only have one plugin window at a time, which is a blessing. Okay, let's take a listen to the sound of the arpeggiator and the pad together. Solo both. Could you detect the nose?
Mm-hmm.
Where
yes.
is it?
Quite present.
It is very present, right?
Yes.
Mid-lows. Somewhere around this area. Look, you saw already I was hovering. The Freudian slip. So let's do it. I'm gonna decrease the width, the Q of my EQ, because I wanna pinpoint at that one. So one thing you could do is soloing it, cranking it up, looking for it, and then bring it back. So that I'm gonna do that. That's the trick. That sounds awful. So let's duck it out again, somewhere around here. We're gonna bring back the rest of the mix, and now we're gonna cut to taste in the context of the mix. Okay, now I'm gonna add the filter as well because, yeah. Here we go. It's starting to cut through.
It is, and I even think it allows you to push it a tiny bit further.
Which one?
The arp itself.
Yeah, now I can push it a little bit louder. But before I do that, I'm gonna add compression.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Obviously, even Theo knows.
Yeah.
So explain yourself.
Well, because the sound as you produced it is very dynamic.
Yeah.
And in a way, too dynamic.
Way too dynamic, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do it. I'm gonna apply a little bit of compression. Again, we're gonna rock the humble built-in compressor. And let's do it. We're gonna be using the, a good point, which kind? Because it comes with different circuits. In this case, I think I would go for, no.
You know the thing.
Yes, we're gonna go for this one, which is totally not an 1176. Okay, so it's a FET Studio compressor, not to be confused with the other 1176, which has a completely different sound. Okay, here we go. So let's first try to. What I'm gonna do with this? I want to show you the importance of understanding the concept of attack and release. Okay, very freaking important. First, we're gonna turn off auto because I don't like anything automatic in my life.
A quick
Whoa,
intermission.
whoa.
because we're making this episode about very introductory stuff.
Yeah.
Would you mind giving us a very quick introduction into what a compressor does?
Okay, look, Rob is asking for me to go for the opto, and you're asking for the definition. Okay, first, what does a compressor do? The compressor is gonna control the dynamics, the loudness of your sound by adding or removing loudness to the sound based on the parameters that you apply to the compression. Those parameters are based on these principles. Threshold, you're gonna set how loud your signal has to be before the compressor engages and docks down the signal, okay? And it's gonna dock down the signal based on the ratio. How many dBs per threshold trespass is gonna dock, okay? So this guy goes from 1 to 1 to infinity, oh well, basically infinity, 30 to 1. A compressor that goes all the way up to infinity in ratio is known as a limiter, okay? And we look at this, we got a limiter built in. So this actually is a cascade. You can have a compressor and then a limiter and then a distortion. Actually nice. Now, the second parameter that you have to keep in your head when working with a compressor, after you set the ratio and how loud the signal has to be, you will tell the compressor if it has to wait for the signal a set amount of milliseconds for it to be squashed. And then you're going to tell the compressor for how long that signal has to be squashed using attack and release. Sense?
Makes sense.
Shoot. Now, Robbie is asking for the opto, and I'm picking the FET. What's the difference? Look, FET compressors like the 1176, I don't have a camera, but whatever. There is one here. Okay. An 1176 has a much more faster control, and it's more aggressive sounding, so you can actually go nitty-gritty, and it's more precise. An optical compressor, which we got here, has a smoother attack, a smoother sound, because the optical compression uses a sensor inside of the compressor itself. I got whatever. There is one on here as well. It's because it's easier to do it on the machines, but where the optical has a photocell inside that will light up depending on the loudness of the signal coming in. And the compressor is going to decide how much signal is going to be compressed based on that brightness. So you can imagine that it's very lifelike, like natural sounding. Make sense?
It's going to be more dynamic in nature, I suppose. It's not going to be that hindering to the dynamics of the performance.
Yeah, but it depends on the sound you're working with. For example, I love the sound of compressors such as this one, the optical compressors, on stuff like vocals and bass. It's incredibly good on bass because of how responsive it is to the actual dynamics of the bass player. Let me address this. From what I've read, the headphones are actually wrongly simulating the stereo image as you hear mono in each ear. But you hear this. You have speakers. You have left speakers. You're on your right, on your left, on your rear. Yeah. Do you think features such as Phonitor Matrix is essential in this case? If we're talking about good headphones and a good deck, good question. Look, let me just finish up with the compressor thing, and then I'm going to move over to that because that's actually very, very important. Depending on the style of compression, you can make a decision on which instrument to use and what kind of compressor to use. Look, let's talk about optical, just because Robbie is bringing it up. I'm going to insert here my dynamics. Look at that, compressors. Oh, look at that, optical.
How so organized?
Actually, do you want me to show you how to do it? Ask me.
Actually, that would be good.
Yeah, because you don't know how to do it downstairs.
Yeah, I have a mess.
Okay, yeah, you have a mess of plugins, yeah. But this is actually very good. So, let's pick the traditional LA2A, the most obvious choice for optical compressors, and I picked the oldest version of the circuit in plugin format. As you can see, no controls at all. Just gain, which is how loud we're increasing the signal coming into the compressor and how much we reduce it. No more. And actually, the real deal doesn't even have a freaking bypass button. So you gotta do it like okay. So, and in contrast, let me remove this. I'm gonna insert the 1176 that I mentioned so much. Let me go for it. Okay, look at that. Dynamics, compressors. Oh, FET! Look, that's badass. I wonder how it was done. It would be so useful for somebody who has a mess, right there. I wonder. I wonder. Okay, so we got the big bad boys, the chungus of compression, the big daddies. Well, there is the first child, but that's something that we will talk later. Of compression, and we got the most quintessential circuits here. We got the optical and the FET. Can you tell the difference just by looking at them, Thiago?
I can see there's more knobs.
Way more, and even buttons.
Yes.
Okay. The optical has no option to set the ratio, while the 1176, the FET, does have the option. The optical, the LA2A, has no way for you to control the attack and the release, while the FET does.
Does that mean that the FET is better?
Great question. No. It means that it will work better on certain kind of material, and it will work worse on certain kind of material. And, sorry for shouting, there is more. What if I tell you that there is yet another kind of compressor known as BCA, such as Rakala? It totally doesn't look like an SL compressor, right? Those guys have a completely different topography. They have a particular sound, and the way that I would describe them is punchy. Great for master bus compressor or bus compressors in general. Okay. Now, before we move over this, let me continue with the compressor. Let me address the question that Alex is asking. First, you are 100% correct. Headphones are unable to reproduce the soundstage that is created by listening to music on speakers. Because of that very reason, you have actually isolated one of the speakers here, and the other one is here, and they are conveying through psychoacoustic the idea of having a stereo field. It's not real, because what you do when you're mixing with the speakers, you got something that is known as LR and phantom center. The phantom center is the point on which the speakers collide and create the mono signal. Okay, it's their real deal. Yeah, it is. It's the closest because the thing is that if you bring Atmos into the rig, damn, you are now bringing all sorts of. You have even speakers on the top of your on the ceiling. It becomes a huge mess, and measuring and adapting the sound of your mix correctly, it's hard. So, in this case, the phantom center is very important. It's very, very important. Because you will hear not only the music coming out of your speakers, but also the amount of the room is playing a very big role. That's why you have to acoustically treat your room correctly, because it helps to deal with the potential problems that will happen due to the geometry of your room, something that headphones doesn't have to deal with. Now, you commented something referring to I mind that Phonitor Matrix is. I assume that it's an extra plugin that you add to your signal machine that helps to mix on headphones, such as SonarWorks. I don't remember the name of that one. Reference 4, I think, is the name, or AK's Multimedia Arc System. Yeah, I used to work with SonarWorks for ages, because as I said before, I had to work on headphones for a good while due to reasons. But that's why I can tell you that you can actually deliver very good results mixing while rocking headphones if you know what you're doing and you learn to understand that what you hear is headphone based and you have a proper idea of what it would sound on the other side. I know that one. Can Opener is also that. I know that software. It works. A good plugin. Very recommended by many people. I haven't tried myself. I can tell you by reference. Reference is the one that I used for a good chunk of time. It's very good because it also helps with it has profiles depending on the headphone you're rocking, so it will allow you to compensate for the problems that those headphones have based on the model itself. Recommended if you're gonna work on headphones extensively. That's why I was recommending the idea of getting the best headphones you can buy and the best converter you can buy, because you're trying to compensate for the limitations of those systems. Headphones, believe it or not, are very important in a mixing environment. Even if you have this direct like this one, you do need to have a good pair of headphones that you can trust. Because, for example, when I'm addressing potential problems, for example, I was mixing a song 2 days ago, and I realized that there was a tiny problem with the vocals. Two sections of the whole take had a little bit of a crackle sound that took place during the recording, and the take was very good. It was the final take, so in order for me to fix it, I had to load that particular take to a software known as RX by Isotope. Great as saving product. Totally recommended, because in that one you can actually fix electrical noises, remove background noise in the most elegant fashion. It's very good. It's very good. And I used that guy to remove those crackly sounds that were ruining what was the perfect take. And I had to do it on headphones. Why? Because headphones allows you to, even psychologically speaking, focus on the sound more. I don't know if it only happens to me, but I don't know on your end if you feel the same. Tiago.
Okay.
I'm asking because...
No, I do feel that it allows you to feel a little bit more in it.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that...
It's not immersive.
The speakers are more immersive because
Yeah.
I think you're more surrounded by music, if you want to put it in more esoteric terms.
Yes.
The whole thing with using the headphones, I think, allows you to be a little bit more pinpointed in the way that you focus your hearing.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. So yeah. Try to give a look to those softwares, and also if you are planning on getting the barefoots, just invest the most of your time on addressing the room. And if you're gonna go that route, I recommend you to get the Arc system by IK Multimedia. It's an OR plugin, and you would put it at the very end of your output in your DAW, in the case of Ableton, and there. You will have to go through a whole process, which is calibrating the speakers and the room, and it comes.
It's fun.
Oh, it's beautiful! It's so fun, right? Yeah, when we do it, when we did it here last time.
Oh, we had such a blast.
We enjoyed it like there was no tomorrow, man.
There was almost no swearing involved.
Yeah, no, of course not. Of course not. It happens in like 20 freaking hours, right? But whatever. It's not. No, the thing is that you will have to measure it with a microphone, a special microphone that will take a measure of your room, and the software will compensate and try to make the best out of your speakers in that room. Of course, the best result you can get is by doing that correction plus the proper acoustic treatment. Okay, super important. Okay. Let's finish this off because okay, the plan was to address as many questions, so I'm glad that it's happening. So let's address this whole thing with the compressor because I wanna do the compressor thing last. What? Am I still? Yeah, okay. I am still here. Yeah, one thing. For whatever reason, the plugins by Native Instruments, not Native Instruments, what are the name of these guys? Universal Audio. I don't know if you own them or if you have one, but from time to time, I need to, every time that I open a session, not every time, but often enough, every time that I open a session on which I have some of those plugins loaded, they tell me that they are not registered. And then I have to close the entirety of the software that I'm running, and then open the freaking UA Connect, which is the license thing, for it to be refreshed, and then load up my project again, and now it's there. Does that happen to you? Let me know, because I'm this close from sending a strongly worded email to Universal Audio. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna apply compression. Let's do it to the ARP. Here we go. When it comes to compression, I have no issue if you go solo, because compression, it will allow you to see what on earth is the compression doing to your sound. So let's do it. Okay, what did I do? You can see that I was turning it on and off just to find the sweet spot, not sweet spot, just to make sure that the compressor or the signal being compressed is not louder than the signal not compressed. Why? Compressors usually come with a preset loaded as default that it's always louder than the mix you're working on. Why? Because that makes you believe that it's better. It's a trick, man. It's a trick. And I know that they do it with ill intent. But whatever.
You load it and bam, it's already something
Oh,
better.
yeah, I gotta buy it again. Yeah, that's the plan, man. Of course not. What you should do, and it's something that I always do, as soon as I load up a compressor, I knock down the makeup gain before I do threshold. But since I don't necessarily use this guy for mixing, I just went straight to threshold because I didn't think that it would be louder. But whatever. We got a much more controlled sound. What did I do? First, I set my attack to be slow. Why? Because I want to get the attack, the very attack, the much more aggressive tone of the sound, which is the tuck, 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 the percussives, as loud as possible without making them louder. What do I mean by as loud as possible? Even them out, because now if I unsolo, we're gonna have a less notorious jump in volume once the filter opens up in the synthesizer. Let's see. Way better, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's compression for you. Last thing, bosses. Huge confusion because it's one of the questions that comes down my lane more often than you can believe. For real. What is a boss? A boss is basically speaking just another channel strip. As simple as that. It's just that. Let's create one, just because it's fun. I'm gonna go here on my mixer. I'm gonna go here and then how do you do it here? Options. Create a new auxiliary track. Look at that. The thing is that I usually do it this way. On Logic, if you click here to search your sense, you click here, boss, and bam. Okay, it's faster. But since we're trying to be politically correct, let's do it. I'm gonna click here, create a new boss. Bam, there it is. Let's call this guy Reverb. That's it, reverb. Good. Then, it's a channel strip, as I said. How, or why, or what makes it different from a regular channel strip? Nothing. But, the thing is that a boss could be fed through the use of the sense. But also, you can use the sense to output to the real world. Okay? In this system, this is a hybrid system, so we got analog summing here. Or if you want to use some form of a routing that involves a hardware unit, you can do it by using these outputs, because this output represents the outputs of my converter. Okay, put it like that. And you can see here on my sum, this send here is the one that is outputting the signal to the software that we're using to stream this show. Now, what is a bus? Again, it's simply put a freaking channel. But there is the big difference. You can send stuff to it through here. So what are we going to do? Here, where you would normally find the selection for the input of your channel, you're going to find the selection for your bus. And you can select an actual bus. Let's select bus number 1, just cuz. You know what? Even better. We're going to select bus number reverb. Why? Because, yeah, you can even name the buses like this in Logic. If you want to know how to do it, let me know. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that this guy is outputting to my summing bus, because otherwise you won't hear anything. Now it does. And then I'm going to insert a ridiculously, stupidly loud and obnoxiously obvious reverb. What should we use? How do we use now that we're in the mood of bashing UA? Let's do it. We're gonna use the capital. This is great. This is gonna blow your mind. And we're gonna use wet solo. Why? Because wet solo means that we're gonna only be getting the return of not the king, the reverb itself. Okay. projecting, I'm doing stuff that I should be doing something first. What is that? What are we gonna be sending to the reverb bus? I'm gonna select my drums every single time, and I'm gonna select the output of my bus using the sends, and we're gonna select verb, which is the one that contains my reverb. And then you can see that we got these knobs. Seniors, if you are from Brazil, you will know understand. You will understand, but if you're not, you're blessed. So, I don't know. You tell me. And in here, what we're gonna do, this is controlling the amount of volume that we're gonna be sending to the bus. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Hopefully it does. But here's the huge point of content and the questions. Right now, I'm gonna press play. I'm gonna mute everything that is not the drums. And you'll see what happens once I start to push this my reverb fader, which you can see I can control it with my control as well. Here we go. Nothing. Why? Because if you remember, this knob that if I push, you start to increase dBs, you can look at it as a gain knob on a preamp. Okay? The more you push it, the more information is going to be fed to wherever is going on in this bus. So if I do this, see what happens. It sounds like arena rock. I was expecting something worse, actually.
Yeah.
No, it's actually very good. So that's how you would add reverb to many tracks at the same time. So let's say that we like this, but I don't want it on the kick drum because it's stupid. It's way too loud. Let's do it like this. Lower just to add a little sense of room. And this also allows you to mix in the sound of the reverb by using the fader. So I'm going to lock it all the way down, and I'm going to add it to taste. I'm going to bring back the rest of my mess. Mix. Here we go. Okay, that's a very basic B trick. That's mixing 101. But the question, and something that is always giving trouble to everybody who I talk to, which might say more about them than it does about me, they don't understand the concept of pre-fader and post-fader. What is that? You can see that we got several options here. Post-pan, post-fader, and pre-fader. We're going to focus on these two because you will understand the third one just by understanding these two. Post-fader is what is the default. And what happens? No, the default is post-pan. But what happens with this is that the reverb, the amount of information being sent to here, is going to mimic the amount of volume you got on the fader of the snare. But is not one-to-one. Is using this amount of send here, and if you dog down the volume here, you stop sending the sound of the snare to the reverb. Make sense? Let's do it. Let's do it as a good example. I'm gonna mute everything. See what happens. Pay attention to the reverb send here, okay? Okay, did it make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Could you explain it?
Yeah, basically the send is responding to what happens in the fader. Well, with the fader, if you push the fader all the way up, the send is gonna respond to that, or all the way down as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, now what happens if I do post fader? Sorry, pre fader. Pre fader means that it's gonna send the content of the channel before the fader. So regardless of the position of the fader, you're gonna send the totality of the output of the content of your region, of your channel, based on how much you send it here. So what happens if I dog down the volume of my fader, of my snare? What kind of sorcery is that? This is the big difference, and this is the point of confusion for many people. When you do the post fader thing, you can have the entire mix down, but the fader is still being fed with the set is following just strictly this guy. See what happens if I duck down this as well, the synth. Nothing, obviously. I'm gonna press play again, and I will be adding and controlling the amount of information being sent to the reverb using the controller, the send controller. Here we go. Can you explain, Theo?
Basically, where am I?
With that.
The
where are we?
Where
are we, all of us?
Where are we all?
Anyway.
What the pre-fader mode basically does is bypass the fader when it comes to the information being sent to the bus.
Yep.
So it happens in a parallel fashion.
And that's 100% the correct wording. Is parallel.
Yeah. So the signal is duplicated.
Yep.
One goes to the bus and the other goes all the way to the end of the channel strip to the output.
Yes.
And they are independent from one another.
Yes. So in a nutshell, when you use a post fader, you are sending, you control how much of the total volume of the fader is being sent here. So for example, let's say that you like your sound of your snare sounding correct, it's sounding amazing there, right? But you want more reverb, and you wanna use it as a post fader mode. Why? Because with post fader, if you want to automate the sound of your snare later, and you want the reverb to be as loud as the automation of the snare, that's the way to go, because it's gonna react to the fader. The thing is that you like the sound of the reverb slash snare right now as it is. How to control it? And you want to add, well, you like the sound of your snare right now, but you want to add a little bit of delay of reverb, and you find it that here is not enough. By using pre-fader mode, you can push it loud, and post-fader mode, you can push it here, and once you do the automation later, it's gonna increase, because it's gonna use this as a reference point, and this is gonna just increase the volume sent over there based on that reference point.
Mm-hmm.
Make sense?
Yeah.
It should, because I think that's the way. So basically speaking, those are the basic, most important elements of any mixing job. That took longer than I expected. Thank you, Theo. Thank you. That was a little bit more elaborate than I expected, but I wanted to be as clear as possible. Because believe me, I don't know how much I have to stress this out, but if you stick to these principles, your next mix is going to be way better, but way better by orders of magnitude. Because you're going to avoid pitfalls. It happened to me quite often back in my day of being just a little boy, that I was either mixing my music way too loud, getting tired and fatigued because I had an improper monitoring discipline. I didn't have a proper referencing track, and that actually happened last week. I had to redo an entire mix, not because it sucked, it's because once I got to a station which, no, it's not the sound. It's a good sound, but it's not the sound for this track. Why? Because I picked the wrong referencing point, and we had a long-ass conversation here, just trying to remind me why I suck. So, yeah, but
which is always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure for him. He enjoys it. You would have seen he was rejoicing. So, so if you follow these steps, your next mix is truly gonna be better, and you're gonna spend less time chasing your tail and less time fixing mistakes, and more time fixing their mistakes. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. If you like to support this kind of content and you like to support this channel, the best way to do it is by listening to music on Apple Music or Spotify. And also, okay, let me say, wait a second. Actually, Alex, I actually confused on the pre and post fader part. I could hear what happened, but I was not really sure what I was hearing. This was a cool explanation. Okay. I think I don't know if I understood what you said, because the limitations of this kind of communication, but I'm going to readdress. I hope. Let me see. Pre-fader is devoid of the effects of the fader. Post-fader will send stuff after the fader based on this volume of the position of the fader, and you control the amount of it being sent based on this starting point. Imagine the fader when you're doing post fader, your fader itself becomes the starting point for the loudness. on how loud the signal is going to be on the other end. And it will react to the positioning of the fader across your live stream, your mix. And the on pre-fader, when you dock down the volume of your fader, you take it all the way down, and you control the amount here on your send. It's gonna use the actual level of the recording, the sound itself, to be the one sent over. Okay. I hope that made sense, Alex. Anyhow, you can rewatch that section once this video is finished. And if still is not clear, leave a comment on the video so I can actually even create a video explaining how to use it in a specific video just from this. So yeah, coming back to the chilling, the chilling. Yeah, listen to music, damn it. And also one thing, Robbie, before you leave, we go to your email. We're gonna get in touch with you right after this is over, okay? And yeah, basically it. So thanks for watching, thanks for joining. And as everything that we meet you, we remind you that you should never let anybody tell you what to dream about. And remember, they will see you when I see you.
Yep, the bottom's still
look at that, it's still wrong. Okay. See ya.
See ya.